I hope everyone can hear my voice and can see the screen also. Good evening to one and all present here. I, Mr. Pushkar Bhojane from the Department of Biotechnology, Patkar Vardhe College, welcomes every participant to the webinar entitled Awareness Drive on World Hepatitis Day that is celebrated on 28 July each year. Before we begin with the actual webinar on hepatitis, I will like to take this opportunity to brief you about the importance of this day and why this day is celebrated. 28 July 1925 is the birthday of Baruch Samuel Bloomberg. He studied and discovered an antigen in the serum of Australian tribal individuals, and later on, it was found that the antigen what he had discovered was actually a part of hepatitis B virus. In the year 1976, he shared the Nobel Prize with Dr. Daniel Carleton Gajdusek for their immense contribution and research on the source of infectious diseases as well as the infection process itself. In 1992, he established Hepatitis B Foundation Institute. In 1982 year, the vaccine for hepatitis B virus was developed that benefited the individuals around the world. For his contribution in the field of hepatitis and the development of vaccine, hence WHO, that is World Health Organization, declared 28 July as the World Hepatitis Day. Before we begin with the webinar, a few instructions to the fellow participants. The participants are requested to mute the audio and video session as the webinar is in progress. If the participant by mistakenly leaves the session, he or she can rejoin or join the same link while muting the audio and the video session. If any queries or doubts are present, they should be typed in the chat box that will be discussed during the end of the session. So we will begin with the awareness drive. Okay. Now, first of all, I would like to give a brief introduction regarding this awareness drive and what it is about. Now, it is said that around the world, about almost million. Now, how much million? 290 million people are living with the hepatitis, that is viral hepatitis, and many of these cases are actually, and the individuals, they are unaware that they are actually carrying this disease within them, within their bodies. So, what happens is that these cases get undiagnosed. Okay, so due to this what happens, there is no immediate care that is given, due to which millions of people they continue to suffer, and the ultimate result is that the lives will be lost. Hence in 2016, every government in the world, they made a commitment so that the viral hepatitis can be eliminated before the year 2030. But as it is just less than 10 years down the line, the progress is stalling, or it is at a very slow pace. Hence, as we have already discussed, the 28th July is celebrated as World Hepatitis Day, and hence, to create an awareness and to eradicate hepatitis from this planet, the theme for 2020 is finding the missing millions. Okay, so to begin with the seminar and the awareness drive, we had conducted a survey regarding how much the local Indian people know what about the hepatitis and the infection. So the first question what we had asked you regarding to the survey was, have you heard about the viral hepatitis, or is it only hepatitis? Now from the results what we had got was that about 58% of the people what we had surveyed, they only knew what is hepatitis, while 33% of the people they have heard about viral hepatitis, while a few fraction of the people didn't had even heard regarding this hepatitis. So let us see what is exactly is viral hepatitis, or what it is only hepatitis. Okay. Now, in general, hepatitis means the inflammation of the liver. Now, when I say inflammation of the liver, I mean to say that the liver gets inflamed and it becomes swollen due to this disease condition. And secondly, if hepatitis is caused by a viral, or you can say by a virus, then it is known as hepatitis virus. So when doctor says that it is hepatitis, it does not necessarily mean that the doctor is saying it is viral hepatitis, because there are other you can say agents, or you can say factors, that can also cause hepatitis. So what are these causative agents? We'll see next. So the second question what we had asked was that out of the following agents, like we had given a selective agents, what can spread hepatitis? Okay, so what the you can say the results we found was that viruses, that majority of the people knew that viruses are the major cause of hepatitis. Okay, while some of the fraction, very few fraction of the people, they told that bacteria is also one of the cause of hepatitis. Okay, while you can say the other people, they also told that the yes, both the viruses and bacteria, both of them cause hepatitis. So let us see in short what are the causative agents. So as I said, most commonly the virus is the most prominent cause of hepatitis, but bacteria also can cause hepatitis, but the percentage is very very low. So commonly bacteria which can cause hepatitis are salmonella. So that is one of the example which can also cause hepatitis. But apart from this biological agents, there are other agents that can also cause hepatitis also. So one of them are is parasites. Okay, say for example enterococcus, that is one parasite which is amoeba, which can cause also hepatitis. Then alcohol overdose can also cause hepatitis, which can lead to cirrhosis and liver failure also. So when alcohol is one of the major cause of hepatitis, it is known as alcoholic hepatitis. Okay, then there are certain drugs which are also if overdosed, okay, so that drug can also cause hepatitis, which can ultimately lead to liver failure, or also can cause liver cancer also. Okay, so we'll see how exactly this hepatitis infection process typically happens. Okay, so when the virus, okay, typically we will be restricting to virus. When we are restricting to virus, so what happens is that when the virus, hepatitis virus, which is present in the air, okay, so when it enters the blood, the first thing what it does is that it targets the three major organs, which are spleen, the kidneys, and the liver. Okay, but majorly out of the three, the most badly and the organ affected is the liver. So when the liver gets infected, what happens is that the next stage of the virus, which is viral replication, that gets commences, or you can say it, the replication of the virus starts. So what happens during this replication process is that when the virus replicates, it leads to the infection, or you can say inflammation of the liver cells, which are commonly known as hepatocytes. So these hepatocytes get, you can say, damaged in the process, and after some time when the viral load becomes, you can say, much more in number, the cell, you can say, elasticity is lost, and the cell dies, or the cell either ruptures. So once the cell ruptures, the inner contents, so all the viral particles which are present inside that infected cell, it can infect other you can say hepatocytes in the vicinity. So one cell can release thousands of particles of virus that can affect, or you can say which can infect the neighboring hepatocytes, and that will cause the liver to get damaged. So this is the, you can say, infection process what it is seen. Then what are the classical symptoms of hepatitis? Now when the symptoms of hepatitis are technically seen, these are categorized into two categories. One is known as the symptoms of acute hepatitis, and one is known as chronic hepatitis. Okay. Now, what is acute hepatitis? Acute hepatitis is the, you can say, the beginning stage of the hepatitis disease, which can progress to chronic hepatitis. And once the degree, you can say, reaches to chronic hepatitis, what can happen is that the later stage, which is the chronic one, it will need, you can say, tremendous amount of medication. So it is better to actually diagnose the symptoms at a very, very early stage. But as I said, some of the individuals, if they're infected by the virus, they will not show any symptoms. So such kind of conditions in which individuals do not show any symptoms, that is known as asymptomatic. Okay, so it is known as asymptomatic condition. So we'll see some of the few symptoms of acute hepatitis. Okay, one is fatigueness. Okay, fatigueness is one of the, you can say, common uh, symptom of hepatitis. Then some persons will show flu-like symptoms. Okay, so because as it is a virus, so definitely one of the, you can say, feature of a virus, it will show a flu-like symptoms. Then when as it progresses at a later stage, the person will start to feel abdominal pain. Now typically this abdominal pain is restricted to towards the right hand side of the body. Now why only right hand side of the body? Because that is the location of the liver. So typically in the lower, you can say, sorry, upper abdominal cavity, the pain will slowly start, and if that pain is not controlled, so that pain can actually progress to the over the entire abdominal area, infecting the other organs also. Then other symptoms is as there will be a loss of appetite. Now why there is a loss of appetite? Because the liver is getting damaged, so the liver cannot process its metabolism or all the activities related to metabolism. So due to that, the person, as the metabolism rate is very, very low, what happens is that the person does not feel to eat. Then apart from that, as there is a, the person does not eat, so definitely there will be a drastic, you can say, decrease in the weight. Okay, there is sudden loss of weight also, that too also unexperienced. Then one of the classic symptoms, or the, you can say, frequently symptoms which is seen in hepatitis, is the jaundice, in which the pupil of the eye, okay, and the cornea of the eye turns yellowish in color, as well as the skin also turns yellowish in color. Okay, now why this is so? Because as the virus has infected the liver, okay, so the liver, the bile juice which is secreted by the liver, that gets, you can say, it enters the bloodstream, and that bile pigments which are present, then they get deposited at various locations. So as the bile pigments are yellowish in color, so due to this deposition, the the cornea, the eyes, and the skin slowly and slowly start turning dark yellow. Okay, apart from that, the person, as the virus has infected, so the immune response will immediately start attacking the virus, which will lead to the uh, fever like conditions also. Now apart from that, there are other symptoms like dark urine, okay, then pale stool, because then nausea and vomiting, diarrhea and fever also. So these are the symptoms which are typically seen in, you can say, in acute hepatitis. Okay, but if the patient is diagnosed quickly, so what can happen is that the patient can also recover quickly. Okay, then with respect to chronic hepatitis, the chronic hepatitis progresses unless the acute hepatitis is, you can say, the acute hepatitis advances at a very later stage, and chronic hepatitis, the stage is developed, or it gets developed very slowly. So due to this, what happens once the person is infected, so that chronic hepatitis symptoms are so, you can say, minute, that they typically are unnoticed. But once they get noticed, the damage has already been done to a majorly large extent. So what you can see in this diagram is the healthy liver, which if if it has at a very acute stage, the person can get treated. But if undiagnosed, it can lead to inflammation known as chronic hepatitis, which can lead to the enlargement of the liver known as cirrhosis. And if also untreated, it can lead to the liver cancer also, which is fatal. So this is the last stage of the hepatitis. Okay. Then we had also asked regarding the question: have the local people or have the individuals heard regarding local hepat, or you can say the types of hepatitis? Now, from the results, what we have got is thus majority of the people, like more than 90% of the people, have heard about all the types of hepatitis. But there were few individuals or few percentage of population that have either heard only of one type or more than two. So let us see what are the types of hepatitis. Now, the hepatitis virus or the infection is categorized, or it is has five major agents, which are hepatitis A, hepatitis B, C, D, and E. Okay, of which it is said that hepatitis A and hepatitis E, these are the mild types of hepatitis which can be treated easily, of which more than 60% of the people answered correctly. But B and C are said to be the most deadly and chronic hepatitis and the major cause of liver cirrhosis and cancer. Okay, so these are the types of hepatitis. Now, further, we'll see a summary of these types also. Okay, the hepatitis A, it is a mild disease which can be treated very easily. Okay, as we had said, B and C are the deadly, you can say, hepatitis causative agents, and out of which hepatitis C, out of all the five, this hepatitis C is the you can say infection in which the person doesn't even realize he's infected with this hepatitis C virus, because in 70% of the cases which have been diagnosed by hepatitis C, they are asymptomatic. Okay, and once it is diagnosed, mostly majority of the cases these are they have chronic hepatitis. Okay, and in hepatitis C, sometimes if it is diagnosed early, it can be mild illness also, but if it progresses, it can be fatal too. Okay, then we had said regarding hepatitis B. Now hepatitis D virus, it is it can only if infect a person if the person has already been infected with hepatitis B, because hepatitis D virus requires hepatitis B virus for the replication. So if a person is already infected with hepatitis B, then only hepatitis D virus can infect. Otherwise, the person is safe from hepatitis D virus. So from this, we have found that almost 50% of the population they didn't knew whether this was actually true or not. But you can say 40% they knew it is true, while some of the people say that it is false. While in hepatitis E, it is uh, acute liver disease, which we have already discussed, and it can also has lead to more than 3 million symptomatic cases also. Okay, so this is just a generalized table in which we can see the causative agent. So hepatitis A is caused by hepatitis A virus, which is designated as HAV. B is by B virus, C by C virus, D by D, and E by E virus. Now, mostly, you can say hepatitis B, C, and D, these are mostly transmitted by blood or by either body contact, or sorry, body fluids. But A and E, these are mostly spread by contaminated food and water, okay, to a large extent. Okay, but hepatitis A is or lesser extent seen in cases of homosexual men, as well as when people are injecting drugs. Now coming to hepatitis B, B, C, and D, majority, as I said, they are spread by blood to blood contact. Okay, or either by bodily fluids. But hepatitis C is, as I said, it is more chronic. So apart from this, it can also be spread by inadequate sterilization of either medical equipment or tattoo equipments, and very rarely by unprotected sexual practices. Okay, for hepatitis D, okay, one of the major, you can say, transmission route if the patient is infected with D, but otherwise at very low cases the blood contact or other body fluids can also transmit the disease. Then the signs of symptoms. Now usually hepatitis A and E, the symptoms are usually mild, okay, but if left untreated, then it can lead to series, you can say, very serious case. Okay, with respect to hepatitis B, there are very few cases of acute hepatitis, but majorly hepatitis B symptoms are seen when it is chronic hepatitis. While hepatitis C, we already have discussed that it is asymptomatic. So if as the liver gets damaged, it can either lead to cirrhosis or failure. And in hepatitis D, it can be fatal if it is already infected with hepatitis B virus. Now, the treatment for all the hepatitis, uh, the vaccine is present with the exception of hepatitis C, where the vaccination is not yet available. Okay, for vitamin, you can say hepatitis A, you have the vaccine. For B, you have the vaccine as well as oral antimicrobial agents. But as such, it has been researched that these antiviral agents also cause tremendous allergic reactions. So as such, there is no specific treatment for acute hepatitis B. For hepatitis D, the person, if it is vaccinated against B, then automatically he is getting protection against D virus also. And regarding hepatitis E, the vaccine is present but only in China. It is not yet available throughout the world. So to prevent this infection from getting into a healthy individual, what necessary measures we at an individual level need to take? Now, as I said regarding hepatitis A and E, we need to drink proper boiled water, as well as we should have proper sanitation and water maintenance facilities. And also avoid eating food or water from unsafe sources. Now, currently, we have the monsoon into picture. So definitely we can say hepatitis A and E will be at a majorly large extent that can spread in these conditions. Now regarding hepatitis B, we should avoid you can say sharing needles or the food, you can say any items of any individual. So be it a safer you can say situation, we need to have individual personal items. Then hepatitis C, again the same preventive measures we need to take, and as well as for D. Now, if a person has or is showing symptoms which are respect to the maybe a acute hepatitis, that person will definitely will go to a doctor, and the doctor will start the diagnosis of that particular patient. So how the diagnosis is done and what diagnostic tests are available in today's market? So we'll start with the first. When the patient goes to the doctor will first of all take a medical history. So the doctor will ask you whether the person has been traveling, what he or she may have eaten, and etc. Because there are hidden clues in that history which can tell that the person may be infected with a hepatitis virus. Okay, once the medical history has been done, the doctor will check for something which is known as physical, you can say, examination. And in a physical examination, the doctor will actually will press the lower, you can say, the abdominal cavity to check for either painness or either tenderness. Because these, if the liver is enlarged, the patient can experience pain, or the liver will get slightly soft. So if that happens, that means there is some problem with the liver. So if that is one of the parameter in physical examination, and the next you can say the doctor will do is, if he will check the color of the skin or eyes. If it is yellow, then definitely the doctor will say that the person has been infected with something that is infecting the liver. So that was a preliminary examination of the patient. So once that, if the symptoms are somewhat matching with the hepatitis, or you can say some liver infection, then the doctor will prescribe something which is known as liver function test. Now liver function tests are a type of enzyme test. Okay, so there are a series of enzymatic tests which will indicate if the liver is functioning properly or not. So you may have SGPT, SGOT, then alkaline phosphatase, creatine, and etc. So there are some standard values for that the liver to function efficiently. If a person is infected with hepatitis, what will happen is that as the liver is getting infected, the cells are getting destroyed. So the cells get destroyed, these enzymes present in the liver, they are discharged into the blood or the serum. And if the blood test, the values are more than the normal values, then definitely the first indication will be that the liver is malfunctioning. Okay, and that does not necessarily mean that the person is infected with hepatitis. There are other tests also which the doctor will also advise for confirmation of hepatitis. Then if the doctor feels that there is some discomfort with the liver, or whether the liver is enlarged or whether the liver is tender, then he will advise for something which is known as ultrasound. Now in ultrasound, the doctor will get to know whether there is fluid in the abdomen, okay, like abscess, or there is damage to the liver, or there is enlarged liver, if there are tumors or abnormalities also with respect to gallbladder also, because the infection can also spread to the gallbladder. So that will be, these all symptoms can be checked in ultrasound. Then a liver biopsy can also be taken also. So in what happens in your liver biopsy, a small tissue sample from the liver is taken, but in biopsy there is no as such surgery involved. So the doctor will pierce the skin, which is like a small laparoscopic procedure, in which a small tissue fragment of the liver is taken, and it is clinically seen to check whether there is infection or inflammation that has been occurring. Okay, then one of the confirmatory tests for hepatitis is known as smooth muscle antibody test. Okay, now what this smooth muscle antibody test is done if a person is actually having hepatitis but without any virus or bacteria or alcohol. So what happens in, and why this test is done at the first place? So this, first of all, it is an antibody. So this smooth muscle antibody, it is a auto antibody. That means these antibodies will actually target the body's own cells. Okay, so instead of targeting the you can say antigenic, or you can say foreign cells, these antibodies will target the body's own cells. Okay, now if it is found that smooth muscle antibody test is actually targeting the liver, or it is you can say destroying the liver, then it is known as autoimmune hepatitis. So this is one of the agent, or you can say one of the type of hepatitis also seen, in which the body's own antibody SMA, they actually attack the liver. So this is one of the type of autoimmune hepatitis. Then the most confirmatory test for hepatitis is known as the surface antibody test. Now surface antibody test is a, you can say, combination of ELISA test as well as the immunometric test. So what happens over here is that this is specifically for done for, you can say, hepatitis B virus. So what is done in the procedure is that the wells, okay, the 96 well plate, which is typically seen for your ELISA, that these wells are actually coated with your target protein. Okay, so the target protein is your hepatitis B surface antigen. Okay, hepatitis B surface antigen. These are coated. on the you can say wells of this sorry, the surface of the wells of the ELISA. So after that, what it is done, the patient's serum, okay, is applied onto this, or it is dropped into this wells. Now why these are actually why the serum sample? Because the patient's body will produce antibodies against the virus. So the antibody, it is anti hepatitis B surface, or hepatitis B surface antibodies. So these antibodies, if present in the patient sample, these will attach, or this will get attached to this target protein, because they will have complementarity. Okay, so once the if the sample has antibodies, they will get bound. So this is what it will look like. Okay, then after that, what the clinician will do, the clinician will add something which is known as antibodies, which are against this anti HBs. But these are you can say enzymed label antibody, and majority of the times the enzyme which is labeled is horseradish peroxidase. Okay, so this is enzyme labeled conjugate. Okay, so once that occurs, what is going to happen, the after incubation period, okay, the substrate is added. So the substrate over here is a luminogenic substrate. That means it will produce light, and there is a electron transferring agent. Okay, so what is going to happen, if the antibodies are present in the patient's serum, so they will get bound to the target protein, which in turn will get bound by the enzyme level conjugate. And if these are bound, what is going to happen is that the substrate will be cleaved by this enzyme, which is this orange color dot. So that enzyme will cleave the substrate into a product, which will be a luminogenic product. But that will be only seen once it is screened under a ELISA reader. So in the ELISA reader, the photon, or you can say the wavelength, will actually excite the substrate that will produce light. But to increase the, you can say, amplitude of that light, that electron transferring agent will actually enhance the you can say qualitative analysis. And it is said that the concentration of this light, or the concentration of the light produced, will be equal to the concentration of antibodies present in the patient's serum sample. So this is the surface antibody test. Okay, now in today's you can say today's clinical diagnostic lab, majorly the it is done for hepatitis B virus. But there are some companies who have also devised the, you can say, the method for other hepatitis virus also. Okay, then we move on to something which is known as facts about hepatitis. Yes, we know there are some diseases present in the world which are actually killing more people, but in reality hepatitis is actually killing more people than you combine AIDS and malaria. So if you combine both of them, and the total number, more than that, the hepatitis is killing. Okay, and out of 100%, only 1/10 of the population is just they know they are you can say that I you can say aware of this hepatitis, and they are aware of their diagnosis. Okay, now regarding hepatitis B and C, almost 1.4 million people are actually dying due to this hepatitis B and C virus. That is why the research has been focused more on these two agents mostly. Okay, and if a patient is infected with hepatitis A virus, he can recover fully. Okay, and that too at a very early stage. But the main advantage over here is that he will develop lifelong immunity. So that means he will not be able to get infected again due to this hepatitis A virus. Okay, and hepatitis B is not at all spread casually. So there was a question asked in the survey that if a person is infected with hepatitis B, can it spread to the persons who are living in the household or in the home itself? So the answer is no. So hepatitis B is not transmitted casually. So even if the person is you can say has touched you, or you can say hugged you, or you can say shakes your hands, you will not get hepatitis. But to be at the safer side, we have to typically be at a safe distance away from the patient. Okay. Then what WHO recommends that all the infants, irrespective of the country, they should receive the vaccine preferably between 24 hours of birth. Okay. And what it is also saying that not everyone with chronic hepatitis will require treatment, because many of the countries in the world, they have limited access to diagnosis and care. So you take the African countries or the Southeast Asian countries, so some of these countries, they have limited access to this diagnosis. Okay. uh, Hepatitis C can be cured by something known as direct acting antiviral treatments. That means this will stop the replication process of the virus. But chances are that the person can get you can say contract hepatitis after patient has been cured too. Okay. Now what we can do from our individual level. So there is an organization known as No Hep means no hepatitis. So what you can do is that you can register, or you can go onto their site, and you can join their campaign, so that it's like a petition. So if you join the petition, the research will be more focused on the eradicating hepatitis. Okay. And if you want any government to typically urge more priorities to eliminate hepatitis, then the link over here is again given over here. So you can register here also, and you can uh, do the petition to urge the government. Okay. So thank you everyone for you can say listening to this webinar. Now, if the questions you have, you can post it on the chat box. Okay, Nidhi is asking if hepatitis B and C are nearly same, then why same vaccine cannot be used? Nidhi, hepatitis B and C are not same. Okay, I said hepatitis B and D. So the if the patient is you can say the individual is affected by hepatitis B, okay, and if he is given vaccination, it will protect the person against B also, and it will protect the patient against you can say hepatitis D also. Hepatitis E, in very rare cases, it is asymptomatic, but majorly it is the leading one is the hepatitis C, which will get undiagnosed, or the patient will not be able to know that he has been infected already. Okay, good question. We have vaccination still. Why so many people are dying? The issue with vaccination is that many of the countries around the world, as I said in the facts about the hepatitis, that they are not easily accessible. Some countries in their countries, what happens is that the medical facilities are not yet that developed. So definitely in those countries, the you can say the treatment will be also not that effective. So the government is not able to cope up with such medical facilities, so that is why vaccination is not that effective. So only a few fraction of the people are, you can say, getting vaccinated. Now as I said, you can say the values, like so many people are dying, so majority of these people, more than 70, or you can say 80% of the population is from the African countries, and the you can say Southeast Asian countries. Okay. And of that, a small fraction is from India also. So that is why to urge the government to set up and to promote more research, that is why this campaign has been begin, the No Hep campaign. Yes, it is possible to treat other kind of hepatitis also. As I said, the one of the cause of hepatitis is known as parasitic hepatitis. Now, in parasitic hepatitis, what you can do is that you can advise anti-parasitic drugs. Okay, so that is one major in you can say medication what you can do if a patient is infected with parasite. Regarding alcoholic hepatitis, the person is then advised to totally stop consuming alcohol. Okay, and he will undergo something which is known as rehabilitation. So in the rehabilitation, the person will undergo you can say treatment in which the person will be almost like a quarantine kind of. And regarding autoimmune hepatitis, the only way to decrease that autoimmune hepatitis is to advise the patient steroids, because the steroids will decrease the production of autoimmune antibodies. But the you can say total cure for that autoimmune hepatitis is not yet still prevalent, or you can say it is not yet confirmed. So steroid is the only option, because that person will have to take lifelong. So, as we come to an end, I would like to thank Dr. Mala Kharkar, CEO, Patkar Vardhe College, Dr. Shrikant Sawant, Principal, Patkar Vardhe College, for their constant support. I will also like to thank Ms. Ruchita Rane, the Coordinator, Department of Microbiology and Biotechnology, for her support and organizing this awareness drive. Lastly, I will also like to thank all the participants for participating in the survey and attending this webinar. Thank you.